going on, Pokemon Go trainers? Welcome to episode 34 of the LuredUp Creator Series, the podcast bringing together your favorite content creators to talk about their work, process, and the game that brings it all together, Pokemon Go. So official. LuredUp is part of the Pokemon Professor Network. Today is Wednesday, August 17th, 2022. I'm your host, Ken Pescatore, and I'm excited to be joined by fellow podcasters from After Darkrai. Welcome to the show. What's up?
Hey. Blah, 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 blah.
Bah, 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 bah.
Hey, Ken. Thanks for having us.
I'm excited. I had to return the favor. I was on your show a couple weeks back. That was super fun. And yeah, you're here. I'm very excited. It's good stuff. I always like having other podcasters on the show. It's just, I feel a kindred connection to the podcast people. It's
togetherness
good.
Through suffering. I get it.
Yeah, you know, we chose the most lucrative form of content creating possible.
Clearly.
Mm-hmm. So let's start from the top and get right into it. Why don't you both introduce yourselves and let us know a little bit about where you're from, and we'll start digging into the show and digging into the content. Take it away, please.
My name's Bret. I am a mountain man from West Virginia. Raised here in these darkened hills, and I run the show After Darkrai, among others, and it's what I do. What else can you say about me other than that I'm the guy? Gracie takes it away now.
Hey,
I'm the guy of the podcast. How about that?
I'm the lady that I just kind of stumbled upon this windowless van and said, okay. So that's kind of how I started, was just I started being a co-host and then just kind of got into a more routine. Yes. Yeah.
Step 1 of a successful podcast, get a windowless van.
Yeah.
Step 2, find someone who messes with you both creatively and personality wise. A wordsmith I am not, clearly. Then step 3, using whatever procurements. Well, I was going to say you got to procure a bag of sorts. Make sure it's a mesh one so they can breathe. I found that out the hard way. And then bing, bang, boom, man. Put that sucker up on anchor and let it fly.
It's true. So yeah, I'm Gracie, and I do some stuff on Twitch and Twitter, but I also have a crazy schedule, so sometimes it's not very consistent, but I still love doing it. So
that's awesome. No, that's great. You guys have a phenomenal rapport with each other and a fantastic vibe between the two. So it's always good. It's always good and natural and organic. And I love the feel of After Darkrai, because when I listen to a podcast, whether it's Pokemon Go or otherwise, I always want to have that feeling like I'm part of the conversation, like I'm in the room, I'm hanging out with friends. And undoubtedly I get that when I listen to your show. So it's really cool. So,
but I'm compliment. Thank you.
No, but honestly, I'm very excited that you're here, and I can't wait to dig into it. So let's start with the nuts and bolts. What's your relationship with the Pokemon franchise? When did that relationship start? And how did that kind of fast forward to wherever you are now in that process? When did you get into it?
I've been playing, Pokemon franchise. I started when I was like 7 or 8, like very tiny little child.
You're 14 now?
Yeah.
No. 18.
Oh yeah, 18.
She's old enough to have a Tinder. Okay?
I do not have a Tinder anymore.
But she's old enough to have one.
Yes, that's true.
She went from swiping on hot people to swiping on Pokeballs.
Pokeballs only.
That's right.
People do OnlyFans only, but it's Pokeballs only. I think I just stumbled on something here. Anyway.
Oh boy, tangent time.
I've got blue ones.
Oh no.
I got ultra ones.
Balls. Get it? No, so I was a child and now I'm not.
Well, I'm certainly glad you're not a child any longer.
Me too. I've been playing Go since day one, so that's kind of like my new love now. I've kind of dabbled into some of the main series as far as like, I got Sword and Shield and I did Arceus and stuff like that, but I feel like I'm just really attached to Pogo now. So
yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I'm still that lost kid trainer on Route 2 with an underpowered Caterpie getting stomped because I didn't know a professor, you know. I went into the dangers of the tall grass regardless of, through caution to the wind. And yeah, that's like the perfect one-to-one of my life in general. But I'm just like anybody else. I started playing back in the red and blue days when I was in, junior high school, when it was called junior high school, and just played all the main series games ever since then. Lost my way for a little bit there, but as Pokemon Go did with a lot of people, brought them back to the game and reintroduced me to it and got back in all the main series games again. And fast forward and oh boy, I'm in my 30s. Aren't we all just happy about that? I know I'm not.
It's funny. I'm the you don't even know. I can barely see or hear both of you because I'm just
what?
Aging.
What?
Yes, exactly. No, it's always funny to like I had the last recording of the creator series that I did was with Daxi, who's a TikToker, and he's 21 years old. And I'm like, yeah, dude, you're like way closer to the age of my son than you are to the age of me.
That's hilarious.
It's like, it's so funny. And he's like talking so fast. And like, it was just funny because all the things, the old isms of me were coming out, like, like, dude, explain that again. Like, what? Like, help me here.
That's
because
hilarious.
yeah, it was pretty funny. I told him to get off my lawn. But now the background in Pokemon is typically the same with most of the people that I have on the show. It's usually when the franchise was first introduced, if they were of age or old enough to actually know. It's so funny because Daxi was like, yeah, back in the day. It's like, dude, that was like 2 years ago for you. But
yeah.
A lot of people that started off and Bret, like you were saying, they kind of maybe had like a hiatus, and then Pigo did amazing way of pulling people back in. But podcasting is something that I hold near and dear to my heart. And it's always interesting to hear how the connection between content creation and podcasting comes about, because a lot of times people stumble into podcasting and then all of a sudden realize how cool of a medium it is, and they never leave. So I'm very interested in hearing how this whole thing started with podcasting and what brought you to the format, because typically it's not the most direct route or usually the first way people say, hey, I want to make some content, I'm going to start podcasting. So how did you draw the line from Pokemon to podcasting?
I'll let Bret go first.
Well, I can say as far as Gracie's inclusion in After Darkrai, I did kidnap her in a windowless van. That's kind of, it's like basically my original thing with the show was I had a rotating cast of people, and I still do to some extent. But then we really settled on our other co-host, Hannah, who hasn't been on the show for a minute. She's been dealing with some personal issues, but we still love you, Hannah, very much. Thank you. And Hannah had to take a hiatus for those personal reasons, and in a panic, I just was like filling the spots with people, with great people, good friends. And at some point, like I don't know why Gracie felt the need. She took pity on me, I think is what it was. And
I did not.
She just became.
I hate you.
Gracie and I. Just like me and Hannah, Gracie and I have like a lasered in brainwave where we can laugh at the same thing and we can play off of each other's energy in a really, whether it's the wet and wild horny ringcast that we are, or we're actually talking about Pokemon. We just zero in on
Sometimes.
stuff and just bounce off each other, and it's a good time. So as far as Gracie's inclusion, she came in a little later, but then the next part is I forget what the question was, and then we move on.
It's
Gracie?
perfect.
No, you're good. It was how you got into podcasting.
Oh yeah. So I got into an argument, as most podcasters do, with a series creator of this show and my previous show, Let's Die, the His versus Hers Guide to the Apocalypse, the podcast. And we got into an argument over what the best weapon to defend yourself against the zombie apocalypse would be. She said samurai sword or katana. I said a baseball bat. And it was such a fun and entertaining argument. She said, this could be a podcast. I don't need to show my work on the math there, but one thing kind of led to another. That show came into existence, and we did an episode on the Pokemon apocalypse, and she said that should be a podcast, and I'm like, and at the time I didn't even know if there were Pokemon podcasts, and oh boy was I disappointed later, but we went ahead and did it anyway. And you know,
I found something new.
yeah, as long as we're doing something a little different, like I don't want to be just another Pokemon podcast, like so as long as I feel like we're doing something different and we're being entertaining, then that's all I really want. Gracie?
So I started actually my partner and I did a podcast together. It was called Rewind the Past. It's about like we watch old movies and stuff like that, or old TV shows like cartoons and stuff, and like we talk about what we remember about them first, then we watch it off the recording and then come back, like transition or whatever, and then talk about what notes we had, like what do we remember, does it still hold up, does it still like have a storyline, that kind of thing. And that was, I think, yeah, like as the pandemic was happening, because we were like, what are we gonna do with our time? And then I started streaming on Twitch, and I was like, I don't always want to be on camera. And that's kind of how like podcasting happened. We just started doing podcasts as far as recording stuff, but not doing video. And then I was just like, I kind of wasn't listening to podcasts at the time either. So I started listening to podcasts in like 2019, 2020. And I was like, this is genius. And then I kind of stumbled on the fact that like everybody has a podcast, like that kind of like line, like, oh, this is something that a lot of people do. And so I just like, if they could do it, I could do it. So that's kind of like where I landed.
No, that's cool. And I think the pandemic, it really had a strong influence on both creating and consuming podcasts for a lot of people, because
Oh yeah.
some people that were used to commuting to work where they would listen to podcasts during their commute weren't commuting anymore. And it was like, well, I still like podcasts, like maybe I'll make one. And then you had people that were, still on the road or whatever, and they had nothing else to do because they couldn't really do much stuff socially. So they had extra time and they would fill it by consuming podcasts. So it was a really interesting time for the format. And I mean, I think it was phenomenal for the format, because the overall boost that you saw just in shows popping up, Pokemon or otherwise, but there was just so much creativity going on, so many people that were introduced for the first time to podcasting, and it's just like a video format. There's strong retention when sometimes, like, the person listens to a podcast for the first time. They usually don't say, all right, this fucking sucks, I'm done with podcasting. Typically, they're going to say, like, I'll come back, so it's very
For
cool
sure.
to kind of
Clearly you
hear
haven't
how
talked
that
to
worked.
people that listen to our show then.
Yeah, like I don't know. That's
I
not
don't know.
They're in the back of the van. I actually picture the van like with a window, but like one of those like bubble little round bubble windows. Maybe like a sweet wizard airbrush
I
thing
got
on
you.
the side. That could be
Yes.
cool.
Yeah,
Yes.
there is one window, and on the back, and that's where Rahays actually sticks up a "Help Me" sign.
Yeah.
For the cars behind us. So
And my
Nice.
hand's just sticking out of the
yeah,
light thing. Yeah. The blinker.
So,
It's fine.
Gracie, you mentioned that when you first kind of started, you weren't listening to podcasts, but I assume now you are. What are you consuming right
gosh.
now? What do you listen to now?
yeah. Gracie, do you listen to podcasts?
Only
What
the
are
episode she's
podcasts?
on.
No, okay. So this is where my like nerd life comes in. So I do listen to a couple of like Pokemon podcasts and stuff like that, but most of my podcasts are rather political or
Oh.
LGBTQ. Like all of
Well,
mine
that's
are
good.
very academic related.
You
Or
lost me at political, but then you brought me back in with
Sorry.
LGBTQ.
I'm an
Appreciate
activist, what
that.
can I say?
Oh, that's
Um,
phenomenal.
Yeah. So I also was introduced to audiobooks because I was one of those like snobby purists. I was like, oh, I could never read a book that's like not on paper. And then my fiance was like, hold on, you just need to like experience this for a minute. And I was like, fine. So last year I listened to 50 books
That's a lot.
Congratulations.
Last read.
Wow.
and like
Name
yeah,
them all now. Go.
Yeah.
there you go, all in 1 second. But it was intense. It was me getting ready for my PhD life. So a lot of the podcasts that I consume now are pretty diverse, I would say.
soon to be doctor. We'll have a
someday.
real life professor on our show.
I know that's
That's
super great and
true.
makes me
I
feel
know, right?
inadequate.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
whatever.
That was not a shot across your bow.
Well, what about you, man? What are you listening to these days?
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Okay, so before was like, I can do this, which clearly I couldn't, but and still can't. But I was a podcast junkie because the job I had at the time, I had a lot of alone time where I literally just worked all day with just headphones in my ears. Um, but I mean, other than Pokemon shows, like It's Super Effective or LuredUp, Comedy Bang Bang, as soon as it drops into my feed every Monday, I'm listening to that. It's the king of improv comedy. And my intro bit to the show that I do a lot of the times, so it was me and Charmander and so on. That's literally an homage to Hollywood Handbook, which is another great comedy show. Florida Man on Florida Man, Kim and Ket Stay Alive Maybe, which is an incredible like horror comedy podcast, which is like you guys should definitely check that one out. And Fuckface. I don't know if you ever heard of Fuckface. Ken, you'll love Fuckface if you've never heard of it.
No, I have not.
Oh my god, it's made by Rooster Teeth. They're kind of a
Oh, that. Oh, okay. Yes.
I know Rooster
Yes.
Teeth. Yeah.
No, so I'm actually I've been a supporter of Rooster Teeth for like, I don't know, 20 years. I don't know how long they've been around, but from the beginning, Red versus Blue days back in the day.
Yes.
It's Jeff, the one of the founders,
Yep.
Gavin Free from the Slow Mo guys, and Andrew Panton, and it's probably my favorite thing Rooster Teeth's ever put out. It is so good. Hello from the Magic Tavern, Freedom. I mean, that's another Scott Aukerman thing. Like, those are just some of the things I listen to. Pretty much almost unlike Gracie, who likes to enrich her brain. I just like to fill mine with just junk and comedy. It's Pokemon, comedy, and sports. Like, that's the three podcasts that I go for.
Nice.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
I'm not a sports person at all, but I definitely do comedy podcasts. I'm a big Andrew Schulz guy, so I love Flagrant. That's like one of my favorites. And I listen to like, Two Bears and Your Mom's House. Those are like my other big ones. But Rooster Teeth, I'm a huge fan of. And Chris from GoCast is actually a huge Rooster Teeth fan as well. We've bonded over that for years and years and years. Over all those different shows. I just listened to the Rooster Teeth podcast today. I've been listening to that show for, I don't know, 600 episodes or something.
Yeah,
like that,
I was going to say that show's been running for so insanely long. Like, wow. It's an achievement.
I worked for the GameStop Corporation in the early 2000s and would travel to all the different conventions and E3s and all that stuff. And I got to spend some very early days with the very proto Rooster Teeth crew when they would come to the trade shows to like do signings for Red versus Blue, like giving out like like little demo discs of DVDs like in a single sleeve. Yeah, it's a cool stuff. I love that content so much.
I remember saving up my money and ordering the DVDs straight from them because that was the only way you could get them.
Yeah. Yep.
You couldn't buy them in stores at that time. So like you had to order it directly from them. And I remember I still have mine.
So. Yeah, I remember it was like before Patreon was a thing. They kind of had their own little like how to support them, give them $10 a month kind of recurring thing and then so I would every so often I would get like a package in the mail, be like, what the fuck is this? And it's like, oh shit, it's like a box full of like Rooster Teeth swag. It was the greatest thing. So cool. So cool. No, that's awesome. I it's always nice to hear what other people are listening to because I think that what you consume definitely influences what you create. And I think that in this case with After Darkrai, I think it's a perfect blend and a perfect dynamic of sheer irreverence of what you're listening to, Brett, like just, stupid dick and fart jokes and stuff like that. Yeah. And Gracie actually, bring things back to reality a little bit. You know what I mean?
No.
Brett, you're full of shit. And then Gracie keeps us grounded. Gracie, you're my anchor. You're my rock.
Thanks.
There you go. That's exactly what I want.
I feel that.
But do you consider the show a comedy show? Because there's been times where I've listened to the show and I've had to message you, like literally pull over on the side of the road. And I talked about this on your show where I was laughing so hard that I was in danger of crashing and literally had to pull over because like sometimes the jokes go so far off the rails, and I get like this delayed reaction where like you'll say something and I'm like, oh, that's funny. And then like 2 minutes later, it like hits me the depth of the twistedness of the joke. And it's like, I'm going to pull over or I will destroy this vehicle and all those around me. So is it a comedy show with a splash of Pokemon? Like, how do you kind of classify the show? Because when I've brought it up to people, they say, well, what's the show like? And I go, I don't know. I think it's a comedy show. I go, I think it's comedy, and they just happen to play some Pokemon. Like, I don't know, but is After Darkrai a Pokemon show, or is it a comedy show?
It's like dark comedy with Pokemon.
Oh, it's definitely fucking dark. It's definitely twisted.
Yeah.
So, like, I'll say when I was doing, like, I used to do, like, the previous mention, I used to do Let's Die. It's like my most successful show I ever did, but it's also like the hardest show I ever did. It required constant work. And my thinking was like, oh, there's like so many Pokemon. I can just do a Pokemon an episode, and that would help me, give me my jumping off point so that we could make things like dumb jokes and just talk about whatever bullshit it happens to be on our mind. So yeah, you kind of nailed it a little bit. It's a little bit more leaning on the side of comedy and entertainment come first in my mind, and then we try to wrap that back around into Pokemon somehow. Gracie, how do you feel about the show?
Yeah, I think it's a really good like tie-in. Like I feel like Pokemon is like the major content, but like we do go off the rails a lot.
Right.
But also like if I'm gonna want to make a joke, I'm gonna make jokes. Like I'm not afraid to.
We're all here because we enjoy the same thing,
Yes.
right? And that thing is Pokemon. And then at the same time, we are also like dealing with this constant thing of the ring chasing us down every episode. I know I keep bringing up the ring because I can't not. I watched it 7 days ago. I don't know if I'm going to live past again. Am I going to live past the recording of this episode? I don't know. It's just stuff, you know. Does that have anything to do with Pokemon? Absolutely not. But it's definitely entertaining. And if I can make someone pull over in their car and dry heave at, you know, Cub Chew making me gag, you know,
dude,
it's whatever.
It was like almost pee-pee coming out, like levels of laughing.
Hilarious.
No, dude, I was dying.
Scraggy pants on.
I was laughing so hard. Like, you know, I'm a big Howard Stern guy, right? So there's been points where I'm listening to Howard and I'm like dying of laughter, crying, can't see, and it's like, all right, I'm a danger to society right now because I'm driving. And there's very few podcasts that have made me laugh as hard as some of the stuff that you've done on the show. So I definitely appreciate that as a listener because it's super, super, super fun. But that kind of ties me back to the process of how you put your shows together, knowing that they are rooted in Pokemon, right? But what's your process for kind of preparing an episode of the show? Because I know you do have these recurring segments and recurring kind of themes that come in and out of the show. So what's it like putting together an episode? And I guess really, what can a new listener expect?
Hold on, I'm so sorry.
Hold on, Gracie like staring at me with the accusing. Oh no! Oh, the King of Darkrai has made his appearance and knocked Gracie's headset completely off of her head. Wow, it's a complete takeover. Now we got to be family friendly, Ken. We can't curse in front of the King of Darkrai. That is Gracie's son. He is destined to take my throne upon my death here in about 3 or 4 short years. So we are raising him to take the mantle of the show as soon as he's able to.
I was attacked.
I thought you were
so
looking
cute.
at me. I thought you were looking at me because you're like, yeah, Brett, what is the process?
No, so if you can't see like the door behind me, I saw it open in the Zoom call, and I was like, there's gonna be a child here. Yep, there he is.
This is a good example of After Darkrai. We like to fly by the seat of our pants. It's a runaway train. And if it smashes into your house and it just makes you giggle a little bit, that's what we want.
Just keep it in.
As far as the process is, it's like, how little time do you have? Because it's like 90% improvisation. And to that end, like, like I don't even edit it all that much, like if at all sometimes. Like I want that rawness. I want Even if the jokes fall flat, I want it in there because I want you to get, if you go see improv at your local theater, you're either going to have a good time or just a flat out terrible time.
Yes.
And our show,
there's no in between.
There's no in between. But that's kind of like our process. Like, I know when we roll a random Pokemon to talk about that episode, it's usually like right before I start to record most of the time. Unless we have like a guest coming on and I need to be a little bit more prepared, but even then it's not that much, sooner than the actual show goes live. So most of what you hear is not prepared. I'll have some notes that I'll want to cover. If there's something big in the news, like, GoFest recently happened, if I need to talk about something in GoFest, I'll make a note for that. But really it's just as simple as putting on a headset and pressing record on Zoom and just go. And,
Nice.
If it's funny, it's funny. If people like it, then great. If not, then they can join the other majority of people that turn it off immediately after the fuck segment.
I love the fuck segment. That was great. I was excited that I was able to take part in that.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for taking part of that. It's something we need. I can't decide on that one if we should do that one more often or just break it out. Like every once in a blue moon.
It's a rare gem.
It's not one I plan. It's usually one that's just kind of a spur of the moment thing, really. But like the segments that we do, the only we do. The only thing like I try not to like repeat them, like do the same one twice in a row, or even like, I try to let them breathe a little bit. Right. So like Pseudo Would You Rather is kind of like a current, like the newest one and current favorite, but it's so fun to do that it's hard not to bust it out all the time. We do the Poke Draft where I totally didn't steal NFL draft music for that, where we'll be like, oh, top 5 Pokemon to party to. And why is it Mr. Mime? Well, it's because he already looks like a Coke dealer. He's probably holding like one, stuff like that. Got to Transfer them all. It's my personal favorite, but everyone else hates it so much. We're only allowed to do it in October because you have to actually transfer a really good Pokemon that we like, random Pokemon, no matter what it is. And you can't just, trash a 0-star or whatever. Like you got to trash like something good.
That's painful. That's painful.
But I get to play Saw sound effects and Silent Hill sound effects, and it's great. Gracie?
Well, yeah. What is like how do you keep the ship going straight?
Oh, we do?
Oh,
when does that happen?
The last thing that is straight is anything on this podcast.
Okay, let me just say something. Recently, we had Kyle from formerly Salt of Pokemon Go Radio, currently of Bonus Episode. What's up? And that show just kept veering off. It was like a drunk driver behind the wheel, and it was
terrible. It was terribly amazing.
It was great.
It was
a fantastic
great
show. But man, we just kept, I kept going, oh, we gotta turn the car back on the road.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
We could have literally talked to Kyle for another hour easily, about nothing in particular.
It's a good vibe.
Yeah, like I said, we're a runaway train. Hold on. Don't buckle up because we don't wear seatbelts here. And then just,
funny side note with the Pokemon Go Radio guys from GoFest. So, we did the pub crawl. Gracie got to meet you in person during our pub crawl, which was phenomenal. But I got a message from I probably get 1 or 2 texts a year from Salt and Nar. So we always will sometimes if I see dog shit while I'm walking, I'll just take a picture and send it to them, just no context at all, just anything stupid. But they messaged me and they're like, yo, we're going to come to the pub crawl. Is that cool? And I'm like, fuck yeah, that's cool. Definitely would love to see him. So I get a message from them. I think it was on Friday at GoFest. And I just happened to be standing in the Instinct tent area. Right. So I get a text and he's like, yo, we're here. Where are you guys at? Well, let's say hello. And I texted back. I'm like, we're in the Instinct tent. He's like, well, I'm in the Instinct tent. I was standing 5 feet away from him.
That's
and
hilarious.
we both turned around and we were both right there with each other. It was so funny. Exactly. It was like slow motion.
I've always wondered, what does the Instinct tent smell like? Because I imagine it smells
paste.
adrenaline and pee.
Yeah, it smells like paste.
I mean, I imagine Mystic probably
Eat it.
smells like a nice seaside breeze. Smells like wonder. Smells like imagination. And then
Valor smells like Axe body spray.
Valor
And
smells like
aggression.
Valor smells like that walk of shame in college that you had after a night out on the town. Like you're carrying your pumps with you and you're walking through the boys' rooms and just trying to keep a low profile, but
Wow.
they see you. They see you.
Wow.
Yeah,
Hey.
you know, like when you have paste on your hand or like and you peel it off like you did in grade school, like that smell, that's the instinct.
Yes.
That's the instinct smell.
Yeah.
Definitely. But no, those are great guys. But no, I think again, going back to the nature of the show and how it kind of has this comedic improv feel and it completely flies off the rails, but the basis of the show being Pokemon and these semi-consistent segments kind of bring the show back to center just enough to like remind you like, oh shit, yeah, this is a Pokemon show. Like I think that's the that's kind of the fun of it that I really can't get anywhere else. And I listen to a shit ton of podcasts and I listen to a shit ton of Pokemon podcasts specifically, and I don't get that anywhere else, which is why I really enjoy your show, because I can get content there that I can't get anywhere else. Oh, I guess we could talk about cursing, right? Because there's very, very few Pokemon shows in general that say bad words, and you're one of them. So was that like a I don't know, was that kind of always in the cards? Were there conversations about that? And
Fuck yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Before we move too far off of it, can I quote you for our show? Semi-consistent Ken Pescatore.
Sure, that's fine.
And that's the
Nicest
nicest thing anyone's ever said.
I've ever said. Yeah.
So that was born from just a lack of experience on my part. You know, I've been podcasting now for over 4 years, and when I started, I didn't know how to edit shit, so I didn't. And unless it was something like that absolutely could not hit the ear bulbs for whatever reason, I make it a point to not do that stuff. That goes into also kind of like my philosophy of, you know, I want this to feel like kind of like a live show, like you're sitting there in the audience watching it happen, and I can't edit a live show. So it you know, is the podcast going to sound that much better if I edit out like, you know, all 500 fucks we say in a single episode? Probably not. 2, like it's going to take me like 7 hours because I suck at this, spoiler alert. And then like 3, insert third thing in the list here. So yeah, you know, it's easier for me when putting up the podcast. 2, the guests and my co-hosts and myself don't have to worry about, you know, filtering themselves, right? We advertise ourselves as an explicit show. So like if you listen in the car when you're, you know, 12-year-olds in there, that's on you at that point. I think maybe we should do a better job of saying it right at the top, but you know, it is what it is. So yeah, we definitely curse. We've made our peace with being the best non-sponsored podcast that will never possibly being sponsored by anybody.
We are lucky we got grandfathered in. We you know, it's
Oh,
like
nice.
I know we still get a lot of shit for it though, you know, and it's
Oh,
like
I
for
bet.
you know at GoFest I met TPC in person, and it was like you know, it was funny because they were talking about the show, and he's like, and I was explaining what we do. They're like, oh, it's all good. I know what you guys do. It's like it's okay. It's totally fine. But yeah, but there's not very many in this space that go explicit. So I it's definitely worth noting, because I think that kind of, you know, one thing about podcasting, what makes it so freaking great is the level of engagement, the level of loyalty that the community has around it. Again, because we're building this vibe. I think you nailed it by saying it feels like a live show, because when you're watching improv or you're watching theater, you're immersed in that experience and you feel like you're part of it. Like where if one host is talking to the other, you may as well be sitting in between them. And I think that that's kind of the real goal as a podcaster, is how can I make the listener feel not only like they're part of the conversation, but they're physically in the conversation. And the community around podcasting is so dedicated and so loyal. It's my favorite part about podcasting is so incredibly highly engaged the community is like. So the After Darkrai community, what are they all about? What are they like? And kind of, what makes them, special to you as the hosts?
Well, I just also want to point out that like Pokemon's been around for 25 plus years now. So there's a huge like amount of people that are adults with kids themselves. And that's kind of like the demo that we kind of go for. Like, right, there's plenty of people in that pie for us. We did do a couple of family friendly episodes with Lily from Best of the Rest, and she was fantastic. I forget how old Lily is, forgive me, but she's probably no older than 12, and she did the show better than I ever could. But I will say a ton of work, like just getting it together for sure. You were asking about community, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen any? No,
there 3 downloads a week.
No. I see the numbers. You folks are out there somewhere. The silent legion screams the loudest. The people that reach out on Discord or Twitter, I'm very grateful for them. Ken, you made my day when you reached out to me after the Cub Chew episode where you had to pull your car. Like those little messages they definitely help keep me in gear for sure. Making podcasts can definitely be a grind with scheduling and technical issues and writing and all kinds of stuff that has to go into just doing it. And getting those little messages every once in a while feels pretty darn good.
Definitely, because like you said, like in a live show, like you hear the feedback, if a joke lands, if something comes through as funny or witty or whatever. And then when you record something and you have to like put it out there and then you just like sit there and wait for a while, see if anybody gets it. That's the hard part, I think.
A recurring thing that's been happening on the show the past, I don't know, Gracie, 20-ish episodes was inspired by Vedant on Twitter. He sent me a thing. He's like, you should do sponsors, but make them like products from silly products based on like Pokemon that you've done. So say for instance, the most recent episode we had where it was Haunter with Vinny T, the next episode was sponsored by Haunter's brand of wet dream dream catchers, wet dream catchers.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Tremendous.
Pillow Swine was the Pillow Swine brand pillowcases. They come sticky. They just do.
It's like a tauntaun instead of a tauntaun.
Yeah.
No, that's super cool. And yeah, I agree with you 100%. It's it's very, very nice and very reassuring when you hear from people, and the fact that people would be willing to even say like, hey, why don't you try this? And then you could do it the next week. I think that type of kind of return for the listener is phenomenal because they know that they're part of the process. And I think that that's super important too, to building a community. And like, I try to do like the 110-1 philosophy. This is my schooling of podcast audience building. It's like, if I get 100 listeners to the show, right, I want to find 10 that actually like the show out of that 100. And out of that 10, I just want to find one that will tell someone else about it. So it's like out of 100 listeners, I'm really just looking to connect with one person. And you find that one person is going to help drive that needle back up to 10 people and then back up to the 100 people to find another person. And that kind of ebb and flow. And it's like, I'm such a nerd. I liken it to like an audio waveform, right? So you have the positive, negative, people come, people go, but being able to find awesome. But finding that one person that will become like a raving fan and an advocate for the brand, that is what is so incredibly needed in the podcast space, because we don't have the volume of audience like YouTubers do, or something like that, because we are still a niche format. We are still a niche product. So it's much harder to have impression share on Pokemon content because the space is so incredibly crowded. It's very, very difficult to build an audience. So, and that's why it's very important to do something unique. And, right out of the gate, you guys just saying shit and fuck makes you unique a lot, because it's that's just how it is. It's just funny like that.
We've been doing it wrong. We've been telling all those 110 people to just find Gracie's brother and tell him to leave a rating and review, and we won't do anything until we get him to leave us a rating and review, right, Gracie? Someday we'll get him. He's out there, and one of our listeners will find him.
It's true.
Nice.
My favorite review we've ever gotten was from like the little kid that said like, "Don't tell." It was something along the lines of, like, "Don't tell my mom I listened to this show."
Phenomenal.
Phenomenal. It's like my favorite Pokemon is Eevee or something like that.
That makes me cringe so hard.
Yeah, I'm like, oh no.
Here's a funny aside. So at GoFest, I was fortunate enough to do like the meet and greet at the event, and we were sitting next to SBJ from It's Super Effective and Chris and Kyle from GoCast. So we had like a nice podcast panel, and we have three very different audiences between the three shows. There's tons of crossover, but there is a lot of differences. And GoCast, without a doubt, skews very young. They skew younger, especially younger than LuredUp. So it was hilarious because you'd have all these like hardcore Pokemon nerds come up and see SBJ and then just walk right past Chris and Kyle and right past LuredUp. And then you'd have like parents with like a swarm of kids, and they would all just gravitate to Chris and Kyle. It was the cutest thing. It was so cool. But there was this one time where this kid walks up on stage, is with his mom, and he's got instinct gear from head to toe, walks past SBJ, walks past Chris and Kyle, and walks right up to Adam. And he's like, "Adam, I'm so happy I got to meet you." He's like, will you sign this Spark card? He had a Spark TCG card. And it was like the cutest thing. It almost made Adam cry. And like the kid, he took pictures. We did this whole 9 yards. It was so great. We became friends with him in game. And it's like he walks off stage, and I turn to Chris and Kyle. I go, "Suck it, fuckers. We got kids too." It was the funniest thing, because we have like no kids that listen, rightfully so.
I think if that ever happened to us, Gracie, I think we'd have to be like, "Where are your parents? Can we talk to them for a minute? We need to have a serious discussion."
I don't know you.
We don't know you, kid. Like, we don't know who you think we are. Oh, my name's Ken.
Can I still get a ride in the
van? Nope.
My name is Ken from LuredUp. That right there is Adam. Adam, raise your hand. Gracie.
We had
After Darkrai's over there.
A mayor of a city in Massachusetts came up to us and was like, "I'm a huge fan, big listener." He's like, "You have any elected officials that listen to you?" We're like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm a mayor of this town." Adam knew the town because he's close to the area. He's just like, "Yeah, I started playing Pokemon as a way to connect with my community." He's like, "And I've never put the game down." And he's like, "Now I listen to podcasts." He's like, "I love your podcast." I was like, "This is fucking awesome." It's just like
that guy and I should be friends. We probably both listen to 538. We probably both listen to I don't know, Freakonomics. We both probably, we should hang out.
I'll get the name of the town from Adam, because we brought it up the other day, and he's just like, he's like, "I looked into the town." It's so cool.
LuredUp Fest 2023 at insert town name here.
There you go.
Bar trivia hosted by After Darkrai, because that's all we're good for.
We were saying like, I don't know what we're gonna do next year to beat that pub crawl we did, but we're gonna have to do something.
You're gonna have me there, of course.
That pub crawl was fucking epic. It was a lot of fun. It was absolutely out of control. I don't drink, so I'm the perfect pub crawl host.
I drink, so I'd be the worst host.
I was able to. We hit all the spots we were supposed to hit, and at the last spot when we arrived, we were 12 minutes early. So it was like, I don't know how he did it, but we stayed completely on track. Yeah, it was a lot of cattle to wrangle. For sure, but
I
it
think
actually
I made
all
to like
worked
the
out.
second place, and that was about it.
I think there was a group of 25 or so people that actually made it from start to finish, which I was very proud of, because people spent a lot of money and got a lot of drinks at each stop. So if you made it to more than two, you were doing well. I think we ended up spending 30 minutes at each location. We were at 6 locations, and we spent $6,800 in that time.
Damn.
So we injected a lot of money into the local economy.
Yeah,
that's a lot of coins.
It was a lot
of
coins.
Poke coins.
Fucking people could drink. And
That's
one bar, the
that's a lot of
drinks were
remote
like
raids.
super cheap too. So it was just like you
Yeah.
had to buy a lot of drinks to spend $1,000 in a half an hour when the drinks are only like $4. It was wild.
That's awesome.
But we mentioned Pokemon Go being that equalizer, right? Pulls people back in. But you're saying that you played the main series and all that. So where does the Pokemon franchise at large fit into the puzzle of After Darkrai? So is it Pokemon Go focused? But because I know like when you do your wheel and you talk about Pokemon, the lore and the stuff, it's kind of outside of the scope of Pokemon Go. So where does the franchise at large fit into the content picture for you?
So as far as the show goes, whenever we roll the random Pokemon, we just kind of go over the main beats of it. And I leave like PvP type stuff. If it's PvP relevant, I need Gracie to speak up on that because I suck at PvP real bad. My attention span is so low that the moment I start tapping in a PvP game and I'm not winning, I'm like, why am I even doing this? I'm a real sore loser. Let's just say that much. So if Gracie doesn't chime in with the PvP facts or something along those lines, I don't know about it. Or, also if it's a Pokemon that's just not in Go yet, there's not much to really say regarding Go. But Go is the most accessible of all the games. It's so easy to just pick it up and play 15, 20, 30 minutes of it and then put it down as opposed to, having to drag out my Switch, which weighs about a ton as far as I can tell. And then load up a main series game and so that I can grind some Pokemon so that I can try and beat Cynthia for a third time. Nah, I'm just going to get on Pokemon Go and see what's spawned around my area and maybe get lucky and get a shiny. That's what draws me in. That's why I think it's easier to kind of lean into the Pokemon Go stuff whenever it's applicable, but as far as like a Pokemon's usefulness in Go, if it does, I lean on Gracie for that. Especially if it doesn't have like a community day that we could talk about or just nothing spectacular about it. Like, what if we land on, I don't know, Sunkern? How the shit are we going to wrap this back into Pokemon Go? Because nobody cares that Sunkern's in Go. It's got like the worst shiny in the game. What am I going to say about it? Other than that, it's bad. List of Pokemon to delete. Like Sunkern's probably up there at the top. Just have Sunflora and just delete Sunkern. We're cool. But
it's true.
And then insert the fourth thing here because I don't remember what we were talking about.
It's all good.
Yeah.
No, so about as far as, how we tie different elements in and like which franchise or whatever, I feel really strong with the PvP like community. So I like chime in here and there like, oh yeah, that one's really good for like you want to get really good Great League one for that one or something like that. Like, I don't know. So that's a really good one for that part. I mean, as far as like main series games, I played Red and Blue and Yellow, and then I didn't play anything until Sword and Shield. So like I had no idea.
I played all of them, but I mean, like
until
Sun
Go, like I don't know, like I didn't play any of those things.
Right. I just didn't get around to beating Sun and Moon. That's the only one.
Yeah, and so I was a Gen 1 all the way until Go came out, and then I was like, I have to learn all these things again. So like it was kind of like a pretty steep learning curve as far as like, I don't know what that is.
God help me if we have a guest that also knows PvP stuff, because then Gracie and that guest will just talk PvP stuff.
Yeah.
And you'll just see me here with
just
a 1,000-yard stare, just going, I know exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
See, it's like I love PvP. And I'm a champion of the losers bracket, right? Like when I'm in a tournament, my goal is to just not get swept. And if I could not get swept, it's a huge W for me. And I come from the school of thought, like IVs don't fucking matter. Just have fun, right? Just I don't care about counting moves. I'm just going to tap indiscriminately and just have fun with it. And I think when you have that approach, it becomes even more accessible and fun to just kind of, use Pokemon you love and just enjoy the ride. But because it can get technical, and sometimes I tune that shit out. When
there's definitely a difference in like GBL and Sylph. Like Sylph, I'm very like, I have to figure this shit out. GBL, I'm like, I'm gonna use a Perugly. I don't really care what you say. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm much more likely to like do whatever I want on GBL, but like when it comes to Sylph, I'm like, okay, I actually have to like care about what
the
IVs I have.
the only tournament I ever participated in was organized by Unbreakable. You guys know her.
Yep.
And
She's
it
wonderful.
she's amazing. It was a Smurgle tournament. And I got
Our drama
fucking
club.
stomped. I got
Yeah.
destroyed. It wasn't even good. And then they made me play like 2 more matches after I lost. I didn't understand. Like I didn't realize there was losers brackets and losers brackets. I'm like, man, this sucks.
It's like I concede, you win.
I was like, man, I really thought I had them with this blast burn.
Yeah. That's great. And hearing the word accessible, I want to circle back to podcasting again real quick, because I remember you telling a story about your early podcast, your first podcast, where you had a very unique like equipment setup of how you were kind of, and it's worth noting here because, when I talk to people about podcasting and what I love about it is, right, it's a platform that helps people share passion, right? I want to hear from people that have passion. I want to live with that passion with them. And a lot of people say like, oh, I don't have the money to buy a mixer and a fucking fancy pants mic or whatever. And then I remember hearing the story of your original setup, and I thought it was very inspiring. So please share that story of how you recorded your first episode and the craftiness behind what you did to kind of make it happen, because that shit was funny.
All right, so I took this phone that's no longer works, and I took whatever current phone that I have now, and I made, because it was too hard to balance them close enough to each other where they wouldn't constantly fall and cause a crashing sound in the podcast. And I made this, oh gosh, it's green, so the green screen's screwing it up, but this is just a cardboard duct tape and foam stand that you can put your devices on and plug them up. And I would literally put 2 phones next to each other, because for some reason I couldn't get audio to record on a phone while I was conferencing in, because we were conference calling. We were remote podcasting before it got real big with the pandemic, when all the major podcasters started moving to Zoom and trying to figure that out. We were already doing that. So like I would have someone called in on, God help me, Skype or something. And then the other phone would be recording just the audio of me talking and them talking from the phone. And it sounded like I crawled into a well and died.
That is so funny,
awful.
Dude. That is the greatest thing ever, of like just having audio come out of one phone speaker and being captured by another phone. I was like, that is the best.
And I didn't have a PC. I did not have a PC. So if something required me to have a PC, I just couldn't do it. If I wanted sound effects in my show, I would have to get like a third device, and then like God help me if a YouTube ad plays or something, like, and then play that sound effect and just hope that it got picked up on there. And then the waters got even more muddied the more people that joined in on. But as the more I did it, the more I learned. Eventually I did get a PC. What a game changer that was. Who knew? I got actual like microphones and a headset. I got software now, like. And then when the pandemic hit and everyone started using Zoom and moving to that, I was like, well, I'll give this a try. And personally, I love Zoom. It just makes it just kind of idiot proofs it, really. Like, and I'm an idiot. So if I can do it, anybody can. Like, get that file and upload it to wherever you need to host it at, and you're good to go.
That's awesome. Yeah, that was always I just wanted to recant that story, because that shit cracked me up when I heard it. I was just like, I remember, I played in bands growing up, and I didn't have a shit, so we had to get very creative of how we would record and do crazy stuff. I remember one of our early bands, we didn't have a microphone, so to record the vocals, we took the magnets out of like 3 sets of headphones and kind of taped them to each other, and we were screaming into the headphones and getting a recording of audio out of a speaker. It was the funniest thing, but it was like you having to do crafty shit like that. But I like it all that precisely.
Well, and I'm not like an audio engineer or anything like that. I came from a construction, like utilities type background. Like I didn't know anything about how to work with files types or sizes or audio or anything, coming with zero like tech experience, right? And I was able to the audio sounds terrible, but the bones of a very funny show's there. I did it I'm still doing it, right? Like just learning stuff as I go along,
Well, that's what I like to let people make sure that people are aware of. Like the accessibility of podcasting at this point is you just need a phone. And if you have a phone, you can use Zoom for free and, or even FaceTime, and you can get a damn good recording with the the stock earbuds that come with a device. You know what I mean? So it's like, I just encourage everyone to record and not worry about what you sound like. Just
do
fucking
it. Like
and
literally
do it
just
and put
do
it up.
And don't worry about audience. That's another thing. People are like, oh, well, no one will listen. Well, who gives a shit? Like
Yeah.
if you're having fun doing it, right? If
feed your own soul. Like just,
right.
yeah.
If you're enjoying doing it and you put it out there, it will find people that like it too. If you keep doing it, if you stick with it. Like yeah, you're not going to be like good enough to be on the Pokemon Professor network, maybe, but you'll still carve out a nice little niche of yourself where someone will send you a nice Twitter message, and sometimes that's good enough.
Tweeter.
The tweeter.
Tweeter.
No, so I'm a Jersey guy, and I love Gary V.
Sorry.
I don't know if you know Gary V, but Gary V is like this ultra Jersey, like inspirational entrepreneurial guy, and blah blah blah. He always talks shit, and
probably likes the Jets.
He does. But he talks about how one of his side hustles, as he was, maturing and becoming more of an entrepreneur, was flipping shit in garage sales, right? And he would go to these garage sales, and he still does, even as a millionaire, which is hilarious. But he would buy like weird shit, mugs and salt and pepper shakers. And I'm listening to him the other day, and he's a master of content. And he was had this clip, and he was talking to someone about making money at garage sales. And he's like, you got to buy the salt and pepper shakers. And the guy was just like, well, that sounds so stupid. Who the fuck is going to buy salt and pepper shaker? He goes, you don't understand. There are salt and pepper shaker collectors out there. And it's like there's an ass for every seat. And that's why I think podcasting fits that. We are that perfectly ass-shaped cushion to mold in there. Yes,
perfectly ass-shaped.
Yep, ass-shaped cushion that's like pressure molded to the buttocks to fit perfectly. No, I think as we wrap up here, because I definitely feel like I could just talk shit and hang out all night.
Well,
but
real quick, Gary V, if you listen to our show, I will not apologize for talking so much shit about the Jets in our latest episode, but have fun getting the first overall pick, I guess.
Sports.
Sports.
I know
it's going to be rough.
Quidditch.
10 points to Gryffindor.
There you go. But as we kind of, exactly. As we wrap it up here, what are the aspirations for the show? What's the motivation to continue? How do you plan on meeting whatever goals you have? Like, what's kind of on the plate or on the docket for the future of the show? And, do you have any plans that you're looking to hit by the end of the year or do anything? Like, what's on the plate?
Gracie?
My plan is for every time Bret texts me and says, hey, what time this week? I have an opening. That's my goal.
Oh, that's amazing, honestly.
Well, Thank
you.
If I could tell you my schedule
right now,
know that. It's chaotic.
Right. And I do understand that
saw my child run in
you have a child, you have school, like you have priorities outside of a stupid podcast show that doesn't pay you. I get it. So the fact that you make any time for me at all means a lot.
I love, my biggest goal is to make people laugh and enjoy and know that there's something fun out there for them. And so if that's literally my goal. I know that sounds really cheesy and really whatever, but I'm not getting paid to do it. I'm just enjoying sitting back and just shooting the shit. So
hell yeah.
For me, not to be too dark, but I kind of view this and my other shows as one big happy suicide note. Good
Lord, child.
My friends and my family, they can look back after I'm gone and they can see this this path, this footprint from my
accomplice now. What the fuck?
So like I said, I've been doing this for over 4 years and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. So there's going to be a large chunk by the time I'm gone, ideally, in 5 months, there'll be a large chunk of my life on record. It's
You're
kind of
you're gonna have to make someone listen to 300 episodes to try to find where did it go wrong. Maybe
here.
just 2 more
It's
episodes.
right fucking here.
It's a serious thought that I have from time to time. Is long after I'm dead, these recordings they're a part of my life. They're a part. I play a heightened version of myself. It's still me. I mean, it's like cartoonified, but it's still me, right? Like so, like I don't know if no one's gonna care when they forget about me in 50 years, but a little piece of me will be immortal. And I don't know, maybe that's some ego in there. I gotta feed the entertainment beast. Like like Gracie said, I have to entertain people. If I'm not I'm the class clown. I always was the class clown. And if I'm not acting out and getting in trouble with the teacher, then I can't live with myself. I can't sit still. So I got to keep moving. I got to keep doing stuff at all times, regardless of what it is. And if I can make someone laugh, then oh boy, buckle up, because I'm just gonna sledgehammer that horse into the ground until you're gonna laugh no more. And then maybe someday, if we do turn like a profit off this, I would love to give Gracie some much needed compensation. Maybe pay for her plane ticket to go to Go Fest next time or something like that.
Nice.
That would be nice. That would be an amazing thing if that happens someday. So like maybe buy my sister a headset.
Yes.
She's got the Apple iPhones that just barely, like one of them's like ripped off and the other one's like frayed, and don't get me started. Stuff like just little things.
Yeah, little stuff.
Those are the like that's it. That's the journey. That's the end of it. So
that's I mean, it for a podcaster, the goal of success, even at large, is humbling, right? Because you're just trying to make it, right? You're just trying to keep on continuing, keep on doing what you're doing. And that's part of the whole thing. You just want that ability to continue doing what you're doing. We need this creative outlet. I was the same way. I was formerly a musician. I used to make lots and lots of noise, and it was like, how can I still have a creative outlet without waking the dead? It was like, all right, podcasting, I could do it in my underwear, I could do it from home, I don't have to leave. And it was the perfect fit. And when I first started podcasting, and this is LuredUp, I mean, I've had other shows that were before LuredUp. I mean, we're doing this now going on just about 6 years, like the life of the show or the life of the game. And it's like, I don't see an end to this creative process, because it's part of who I am as a person. And I think that alone is motivation enough to just continue the grind. So how you gauge success as a podcaster, it's very much different from saying like, yeah, man, I need 1 million subscribers, or get this video needs 1 million views and I get some ad revenue. Like, if you're trying to make money, podcast ain't the way.
No,
it's just like
my mom listens to the show. She reminded me today that she listened to the latest one, as my dog knocks over the green screen in the background. But Gracie, you got to go. Is there anything you want to say before you take off and tend to the King of Darkrai?
Yeah, so I can hear him like crying downstairs, so I'm gonna have to run. But no, I just thank you so much, Ken, for like having us on here. I'll let you guys finish up. If anybody wants to follow me, it's Lady Z Rain, ZRAIN on Twitter, and V Gracie Z on Twitch. Yeah, I mean, you guys are awesome, and I really appreciate all of you.
And after you go, I'm totally not going to talk shit about you.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'll listen to it later.
We're going to be wrapping it up anyway, but yeah, links to where you can follow Gracie will be in the description. Make sure you do that. Gracie, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it.
Tend the feral 3-year-old.
The demon.
Bye.
Enjoy.
Truly the stuff of nightmares.
Oh, that's okay. Mom life. Hashtag.
There you go. But Bret, thank you, dude. As we wrap up, do you have any closing words, closing thoughts? I like to call this section the butt plugs. You can plug away.
Ooh, daddy. Sure. Recently, we had Kyle, as I previously mentioned, formerly Salt of PGR, now of bonus episode. He was on. We talked, and the random Pokemon we rolled for that day, funny enough, was Darkrai, totally not planned.
Nice.
So that was a good one. We'll also probably have our Christmas in July episode come fashionably late. Murder Santa's coming back. with some friends, and that'll be a fun time. You can also check me out on Jaws Breakers. That's JAWS Breakers, the Scary Funny Shark movie show, which is a show I do with my sister. We watch usually really bad shark movies with people on Twitch and in Discord. And then we do a podcast about it. We just recently did our Shark Week. We watched all 6 Sharknadoes, and it was an experience. Is full stop.
Amazing.
And then I'm on Twitch as well, TTV/Breaker is Dead. And if you want to check out those old things I was talking about, Let's Die, the His versus Hers Guide to the Apocalypse, the podcast is still floating out there. Hope to bring it back someday. Speaking of having Gracie the doctor on Darkrai, I was lucky enough to have a scientist be my co-host for most of that show. So like I've been really fortunate to have amazing co-hosts throughout the time I've been doing this, and I would not be able to do it without them. So make sure you give Gracie some love whenever you see her streaming or on her Redbubble where she makes art, or her Twitch or something. I wouldn't be able to do it without them. I wouldn't be able to do it without Hannah either. So, or Rahays, everyone that helps make the show work. So yeah, give everybody some love.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, dude, thank you so much again for coming on the show. We really, really appreciate it. Everyone, make sure you please check out After Darkrai. Phenomenal show, phenomenal content. Will make you laugh. It'll make you cry. It'll make you maybe crash your vehicle.
You can actually draw, if you draw a circle in the ground in blood, surround it by lit candles. Then you put on a dark robe, and then you put a tape deck with an episode of After Darkrai right in the middle. If you play it backwards, you can actually hear your kid crying from the other room because they're actually crying from the other room. So you better go take care of that. What are you doing, Dave? Get in there.
Phenomenal. But everyone else, thank you so much for checking out the show. We really do appreciate it. Make sure you check out PokemonProfessor.com for everything we have going on with the network, LuredUp.com for everything we have going on with the show. All the contact information is in the description. Make sure you connect with them, follow everywhere, all that good stuff. Smash the like button and all that fun stuff those kids say these days. Turn on the notifications, all that shit. But dude,
we're like the death metal of Pokemon podcasts. Like,
fuck yeah.
Like, don't tell your parents you bought the CD, and then when they overhear from the room, they're going to say, "What are they listening to?" So, Ken, thanks again for having us on. We'll get you an After Darkrai leather jacket so you can join us in our biker gang.
Phenomenal. Appreciate it. And yeah, that's going to wrap up today's show. Keep training, trainers. Appreciate everybody. We'll see you next time.